Good morning. Welcome back to Bookie Monsters. My name is PK. This is Bookie Monsters, and on the morning show, Monday through Friday, we look at the new releases that are being set into the wild each week, this week, and every day of the week, we look at a different genre. On Mondays, we look at cozy mysteries. On Tuesdays, we look at mysteries and thrillers. On Wednesdays, like today, we look at romance. On Thursdays, we look at fantasy and science fiction. And on Fridays, it's kind of a catch all, but usually it's more cozy mysteries because there's always a lot each week. But it just kind of depends. Today is February the 28th. So, being Wednesday, we are going to look at the romances. But some quick announcements first. Since it's Wednesday, there are no live sprints tonight. Our next sprints are tomorrow evening at 6:05 Mountain Time, 8:05 Eastern. Sometimes they start a little bit early if traffic coming home from work goes in my favor. So make sure you are not only subscribed, but also hit the notification so that you get to start those sprints early, should we start early. Sprints after that are on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and those go for 5 hours. Let's jump into, let me change out this banner. And let's jump into some romance. There's not a whole lot as I was prepping, but we'll look at what we can find. This one is Right on Cue by Fallon Ballard. I'm assuming it's Fallon. Typically it has two L's, but creativity is the name of the game these days. From the beloved author of Just My Type and Lease on Love comes a new romantic comedy in which a former actress turned screenwriter finds herself back in the spotlight only for her romantic lead to be the one man she can't stand. I can't stand it. If you've watched Singing in the Rain, you know that reference. Emmy Harper is no stranger to Hollywood, having penned some of the most popular movies of the past few years. But her latest project has hit a standstill. Unable to find the perfect leading lady, Emmy's been recruited to take on the role herself. Never happened. Dusting off acting skills she hasn't used in over a decade. Things take a turn for the worse when she's left with the one co star she can't trust, Grayson West. A blockbuster action hero known for his megawatt smile and impossible abs, Grayson is anyone's dream of a romantic lead. Too bad Emmy still blames him for her disastrous first movie and the early end to her acting career. The friction between the two risks tanking the movie, and no one knows if it's lingering awkwardness from their youth or unresolved sexual tension. But if they want to save the production and their own careers, they need to get their acts together quickly, both on and off camera. Yeah. Could have worked, but no. With all the actresses available, no. Asking the screenwriter to star, no. Meant for Stone, first in the Meant For series by Natasha Madison. He lost his shirt. He did find his chain, though. Imagine that. This is a spin-off from the Hollywood Playboy, and this is crazy. This is a brand new sports romance. Growing up in Hollywood, this is Riley. Growing up in Hollywood, I was surrounded by liars and phonies. But when I got my law degree, I knew I wanted to work as a district attorney. Busy days turned to long nights. I was on my way up the ladder. Then he happened, bullied his way into my life as if there was no choice. You always have a choice. Always. Suddenly, everything I thought I wanted wasn't as important. Stone. I had one thing on my mind, and that was never going to change the game. The only goal I had was beating the records set by my family. I didn't have time for anything else until she walked in the room. Of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world, she walks into mine. The earth shifted just like the story said it would. I said it wouldn't happen, not to me. I didn't have the time, but now she was the only thing on my mind. I knew it was her. Now I had to convince her. Okay. Beautiful Beast, a steamy small town romance in the Grimm's Valley Romances, third of them, by N.S. Johnson, Kindle Unlimited. Combat left him scarred, but can this beauty teach him that love is worth fighting for? Adam Best carries the scars of war not just on his body but in his heart. A former soldier, he now seeks solace in the shadows of Grim Valley, hiding from the world that can't see past his scars. His love for classic literature is his only escape, his words a refuge from a past that haunts him. And when Trix Lestrange slides into the stacks, the sassy and beautiful collector of romance novels who detests classic literature demands he make space for her on the shelves. Their fiery debates over literature ignite into an unexpected, passionate affair. But Trix, shaped by a past that taught her love is fleeting, fears a dark moment that could end their story. Can Adam set aside his beastly nature to show her the beauty of the love they could share? Once upon a time has never been so hot in this steamy small town where heroes fall hard for modern day damsels who know how to handle their swords. I didn't like his hair though in that cover. Clipped Wings. This is part of the Emerald Mafia series, apparently, by Jennifer Luna. This is second in the series, it looks like. And it might be romance, but I would say it's romantic suspense at least. He wants to hide her from his enemies, but only she knows how to slay them. Jack and Emma are on holiday when a family member goes missing. Not just any family member, but Jack's brother, the leader of the Irish mob. When they return to the city, the hunt begins. While Jack is busy fighting a monster, Emma is left to her own devices. She needs to adapt to a new world, a world filled with street fighting, morally gray characters, and vengeance. As the days grow darker, Jack isolates himself from the one woman who brings him light. He's spinning out of control, and Emma can only pray he'll stop before he gets himself killed. If there's one thing Emma knows, she isn't the damsel in distress. She'll fight for her relationship with Jack to the death. Now, this one isn't a straightforward romance, but I included it. This is called Homestead by Melinda Mustakis. Anchorage, 1956. When Marie and Lawrence first lock eyes at the Moose Lodge, they are immediately drawn together. But when they decide to marry days later, they are more in love with the prospect of homesteading than anything else. For Lawrence, his parcel of 150 acres is an opportunity to finally belong in a world that has never delivered on its promise. For Marie, the land is an escape from the empty future she sees spinning out before her, and a risky bet is better than none at all. But over the next few years, as they work the land in an attempt to secure a deed to their homestead, they must face everything they don't know about each other. As the territory of Alaska moves toward statehood and inexorable change, can Marie and Lawrence create something new, or will they break apart trying? So, yeah, you could say that's a romance. This one makes me nervous. Once Persuaded, Twice Shy, a modern reimagining of Persuasion. Now, Persuasion by Jane Austen is my favorite Jane Austen. I love Pride and Prejudice, but I just love Persuasion a bit more. I love second chances. When Anne Elliot broke up with Ben Wentworth, it seemed like the right thing to do, but now, 8 years later, she's not so sure. In her scenic hometown of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Anne is comfortable focusing on her successful career, filling her late mother's shoes as town councilor and executive director of her theater company. She certainly keeps busy as the all-around wrangler of eccentric locals, self-centered family members, elaborate festivals, and the occasional attacking goose. But the more she tries to convince herself that her life is fine as is, the more it all feels like a show, and not nearly as good as the ones put on by her theater company. She's the always responsible Anne, always taken for granted and cleaning up after other people, and the memories of happier times with Ben Wentworth still haunt her. So when the nearby Kellynch winery is bought by Ben's aunt and uncle, Anne's world is set ablaze as her old flame crashes back into her life, and it's clear he hasn't forgiven her for breaking his heart. A joint project between the winery and Anne's theater forces both Ben and Anne to confront their complicated history, and as they spend more time together, Anne can't help but wonder if there might be hope for their future after all. I would have liked this cover if it didn't have this drawing at the top. That was a poor choice. Move the title up a little higher to fill that space. And then you have this really pretty town setting. That would work better for me. But I am intrigued, so we are going to check out this is what I do. So if a book has intrigued me, I'm sure you guys do it too, but this is what I do. I check out the first couple paragraphs to see if the hook, shall we say, the thing that made me be interested is followed through in how it's written. Let's see, that's the introduction. Lots of front pages. She should have kept her flats on. Anne had made a hard rule for herself several years ago when she thought striding around in her high heels would give her authority and also maybe calf definition. It did neither. It gave her aching feet and ruined her designer pumps. Louboutins should never be treated like that. So she made a rule. Flat shoes during the day when she needed to get from her office to the box office to the backstage to the lobby in a hurry. Flat shoes in the evening right before the performance when the whirlwind of last-minute panics, missing props, drunk VIP guests, and the ancient ushers losing their hearing aids down a seat back kept her running. And only after that, maybe sometime around the third act, would she nip back to her office, touch up her makeup, slip into her cocktail dress, and swap her flats for heels. Then she'd be poised and ready in the lobby by last curtain call, ready to greet patrons and ready to make her speech as executive director of the Elysium Theater Festival while champagne flutes circulated. I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it. So it has possibilities. The Diamond and the Duke, third in All the Duke's Sins by Christy Caldwell. When a wounded soldier and self-proclaimed beast, oh, we're going for a hat trick here, finds unlikely friendship when a headstrong and unconventional beauty, they quickly find themselves weaving a tale as old as time. Despite a hero's return to England from the Napoleonic Wars, Wesley Audley isolates from the ton. Deep wounds from the horrors of combat and the despair of a broken heart left him scarred. As he struggles to cope and resume his place in polite society, Wesley is quick to cut himself off from everyone, except for Ellie Balfour. Independent and strong-willed, Ellie has dreams of captaining her own husband-free life and a penchant for meddling in others' business. She knows befriending Wesley is a risk, but Ellie can't bear to see his heartache, nor can she seem to silence all the temptingly intimate thoughts his nearness provokes. But Ellie is yet to face a battle she can't win, and Wesley's heart is worth a fight. If only her campaigns ever went to plan. Dot, 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 dot. That's a pretty cover, too. An interesting take on the faceless covers. You get a quarter of a side view here. But I like it. And the colors are pretty. The Earl's Red Hot Wedding, Victorian Outcast #2 by Barbara Russell. I like this cover too. Very pretty colors. The purple and the green together. They're fully clothed, yet there's absolutely the message of you're my person. As one of the youngest earls in the empire, Brandon doesn't find true friends easily. Everyone wants something from him, favors, money, help. So when he meets Emily on the Flying Scotsman, she wins him with her honesty and charm. The fact they have the same taste in books doesn't hurt either. After another train crashes against the Flying Scotsman, Brandon and Emily are injured, and Emily's parents die. He's determined to take care of her, but Emily's aunt wants her to be her niece's guardian. Years later, Brandon meets Emily at a ball. The bond they forged on the Flying Scotsman is still strong, and they get close, although the tragedy changed them both. Brandon learns her aunt is secretly planning to pocket Emily's inheritance as long as Emily doesn't marry in the next few weeks. Wishing to protect Emily, he proposes a red hot marriage, a quick wedding in Scotland, which means taking the Flying Scotsman. The only problem? Emily doesn't travel on a train anymore, especially on that doomed train. She'd have to have a fit if she'd had to sit on a train for hours on end. But she has only a few weeks before her parents' legacy is gone forever. The Lion's Paw. Sorry, copy is required. And I don't like this cover. It looks like it's from the 70s ish. He looks like a big leprechaun, and he has kind of a smarmy look on his face. And he shouldn't have worn the hat for this. Okay. Anyway, The Lion's Paw by Jenna Jackson, part of The Lion's Den, 53 books. He's not the type of man to forgive, but he'll never forget her. Geoffrey, Lord Longford, is between a rock and a hard place. His estates are about to be sold to keep the earldom afloat, so without a huge infusion of cash, his life is about to change for the worse. When his best friend suggests Geoffrey marry an heiress, like he never thought of it, he's despondent but resigned. Despite his reservations, he seeks out Mrs. Dove Lyon at the Lion's Den to find a suitable young lady with a suitable fortune. Diana Edgerton sacrificed years of her life taking care of her uncle until he died. But that sacrifice is about to be rewarded handsomely. His will leaves Diana the sole heir to a vast fortune, but with one horrifying stipulation. She must be married in order to inherit it. Unfortunately, terrible rumors about Diana and her uncle have made her all but unmarriageable. Ew. In desperation, Diana's aunt suggests she visit the Lion's Den and consult Mrs. Dove Lyon to arrange a match to save her inheritance. With two clients seemingly made for each other, a happy ending is all but assured. Except Geoffrey and Diana have an unfortunate history, one that makes their union almost an impossibility. With so much hanging in the balance, can the two of them overcome the fact they despise one another long enough to secure the possibility of a future together? I'd say do it. You have a big house, you don't have to see each other. I've solved all your problems. End of story. Now this one also I don't believe was, well, let's go to this one. If we have time, we'll do that one. The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. Two former high school sweethearts get a second chance in this marriage of convenience romance. To Violet Green, fashion is everything. As a successful celebrity stylist, she travels all over the world, living out her dreams. Professionally, she's thriving, but her personal life is in shambles. After surviving a very public breakup with her ex-fiancé 6 months ago, Violet is now determined to focus on her career. But life hands her something, or rather, someone, that might derail everything. Xavier Wright did not expect to run into his high school girlfriend, Violet, the girl he once thought he'd marry from high school, on a birthday trip to Vegas. As a high school teacher and basketball coach, he rarely leaves his New Jersey hometown, so what were the chances? But when the initial shock wears off, they decide to celebrate together. They feel young and reckless as they party the night away. And reckless they clearly were when the following morning they wake up beside each other with rings on their fingers. Their impulsive nuptials might be a blessing in disguise, though, when they realize that both of their careers could benefit from the marriage. So they play the part of a blissfully wedded couple. Yet, when their passion comes hurling back, they realize their feelings are just as real as they were back when they were teens. But are their lives too different to stick it through, or will they finally get a happy? All right, back to this one. The Painter's Daughters. This was more of a historical, I think, rather than romance, but we'll take a look. This is by Emily Howes. Peggy and Molly Gainsborough, the daughters of one of England's most famous portrait artists of the 1700s and the subsequent subject of his work, are best friends. They spy on their father as he paints, rankle their mother as she manages the household, and run barefoot through the muddy fields that surround their home. But there is another reason they are inseparable. From a young age, Molly periodically experiences bouts of mental confusion, even forgetting who she is, and Peggy instinctively knows she must help cover up her sister's condition. When the family moves to Bath, it's not so easy to hide Molly's slip-ups. There, the sisters are thrown into the whirlwind of polite society, where the codes of behavior are crystal clear. Molly dreams of a normal life, but slides deeper and more publicly into her delusions. By now, Peggy knows the shadow of an asylum looms for women like Molly, and she goes to greater lengths to protect her sister's secret. But when Peggy unexpectedly falls in love with her father's friend, the charming composer Johann Fischer, the sisters' precarious situation is thrown catastrophically off course. Her burgeoning love for Johann sparks the bitterest of betrayals, forcing Peggy to question all she has done for Molly and whether any one person can truly change the fate of another. Okay, that is all we had. And just in time, because the bells are about to ring here. Closing down some extra tabs. Well, out of that, I'm kind of actually interested in the one that I was nervous about, the once persuaded, twice shy. And if you find one out of the group, that's not bad. If you find like one a day out of everything that we look at every day, you've added to your TBR significantly. And that's our goal. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, it's Wednesday, so I don't do sprints on Wednesday evenings, so you're free. But our next sprints are tomorrow evening at 6:05 Mountain Time, 8:05 Eastern. And tomorrow's morning show will be, excuse me, looking at fantasy romance, and science fiction. And after that, Friday, probably more cozy mysteries. Saturday, more sprints for 5 hours at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, just to shake things up. I hope you have a very good Thursday. Be safe. Read good books. Be kind. Drink water. That one's, I need that kind of reminder. And remember, it's okay to set a book aside if it's not making you enjoy it. It's just not the right time. It's not a bad book. It's not a bad author. You're not bad. It's just not the right time for those things to come together. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Have a good day and God bless.